Welcome into TFW Live, the best kept secret in fantasy football, where we keep that week one feeling going all year long. This is episode 341. We're going to be talking all things waiver wire for week 8. Got to let you know, though, first, that support for TFW Live is brought to you by our patrons. Our community over at patreon.com/the Fantasy Whispers have supported us throughout the brand's existence. And this month, in fact, on Thursday, we're going to be giving away an amazing prize as we do every month. This month's prize is a David Njoku signed mini helmet. That's right, David Njoku. We got this prior to the ankle injury, so apologies there, but we're going to get you right. We'll get you the right tight end to pick up here this week. But you can get that signed helmet if you go over to patreon.com/the Fantasy Whispers. You got a couple more days to sign up for the October giveaway. But you can also get in for the November giveaway. It's another signed mini helmet that we're excited to be giving away. I am Big Travie, as you can see right here. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, help us grow the channel as we continue to move forward through this fantasy season. But you can find my personal Twitter at Big Travie TFW. And today I'm riding solo. We're doing the Waiver Wire show here today. Got to say a big welcome to Whisper Nation. We've got Lady V in the house. We've got Jersey J asking who he targets. And we will get to all of your questions, of course, and everybody else that's going to be joining in as well. We're going to give to all those questions towards the end here. I'm going to work through some of the waivers, the top ads, using the Sleeper platform to see who is the most the most dropped player for you guys to target here on your waivers. All right. Got to shout out our people on YouTube who support the show through a monthly subscription. Gus Ramos, Pizza Belly, Don Caples, Bailey Ziegler, Kevin Davey, Nick, Brett Zabo, John Credit, Eric Lorenzen, Donnie Tubbs, Jersey J, and Hanimal. You want to join that growing list, just click join right next to the video. And of course, as we said at the top of the show, if you're watching over on YouTube, hit us with a subscribe. We are putting out content on the daily, so hit that subscribe button. Just trying to get one more sub on this stream. Just one more, could be you. All right, so as I said, we are talking waiver wires today here. We've got the Week 8 waiver wire upon us. And of course, that means we've got to take a look. I mean, just a really horrific Week 7 that saw Breece Hall, DK Metcalf, Mike Williams, David Njoku, several others injured that we're going to have to go replace or maybe capitalize on that injury and figure out what's going on. How's it going, Don, in the chat here? I want to say what's up to her as well. Hope you and Scott are doing beautiful tonight. So again, we're trying to replace all these injured players. We're going to start this off as we do every week. We're going to start with the running backs, then go to wide receivers, then tight ends, then quarterbacks to round it out. We're going to look at the top 3 added players on Sleeper. Then we're going to look at the top 3 drops, talk about maybe what I would do, and then you're going to get your questions in here, and then we're going to talk about some ifs and ands and hypotheticals as well, as we've got Albert in the chat as well. What's going on, everybody? Love everybody pouring in here. So let's get going here. At running back, we've got Gus Edwards at the top. He's the most added running back on Sleeper right now, rostered in 41% of Sleeper leagues. I mean, from straight to the pup to the starting lineup, Edwards took over that Ravens backfield. He had 16 carries for 66 yards, 2 touchdowns. If we look at the 3 seasons before that he came in here, he was averaging over 5 yards per carry. We know they trust him. They trust him clearly more than J.K. Dobbins, who they were kind of winding back. Now, Gus has a bit of a knee. But he did get back to a limited practice today. I'm still confident that, they're just on that Thursday night schedule. So I think Gus is a plug and play here. I know Tampa's a tough defense, but we just saw Tampa get kind of roasted by both the Carolina backs. So I'm okay with Gus here. And for me, he's the top ad as well. Michael Carter, he is rostered in 67% of Sleeper leagues here, and he is the second most added running back. If you look at Michael Carter last year, prior to his injury, he was the lead back, and he reached 10 or more PPR points in 6 of 9 games. We noticed that yesterday that we announced it on the show, Jets traded James Robinson, traded for James Robinson, but Carter still should see the bulk of the work to start out. I think that Robinson could take over the early down work. But, I mean, Carter's got experience filling in here for the Jets, and the coaching staff likes him, but he finishes the RB29 in PPR, and he missed 3 games last year. So I'm kind of in on that, on Michael Carter here. At the very least, I think he'll be a rental, but I do think that he's going to have some value for you going forward, especially in PPR formats, where he could be kind of that, that fill-in for you there. And just like the guy that soaks up the passing down work as well. All right, moving on here to the next running back, D'Onta Foreman, who had himself a really good day. I mean, the Panthers in general, their running attack in general. But if you look at what Foreman was able to do, 17 touches. Well, first of all, he's rostered in 63% of sleeper leagues here. And he saw 17 touches, 145 yards from scrimmage. And if we look last year, similar to Carter, we have a track record with Foreman. Now, it was with the run-heavy Tennessee Titans, but Carolina's probably going to be run-heavy too because they've got P.J. Walker at quarterback right now. But if we look at Foreman last year, when he filled in, 18 touches was his average. He averaged 90 yards, and he scored 3 touchdowns in that time. So for me, Foreman is actually the one I'd rather have out of Chuba Hubbard and Foreman. And I know that Hubbard got the start, but to me, I think that Foreman's the guy that's going to be the better play each and every week. I think he's probably the better bet for a touchdown, at least in a standard or half PPR format. Ty Johnson is the 4th most added running back here. He's rostered in less than 1% of sleeper leagues. I think he's going to be a non-factor with the James Robinson trade, but I did have to add him here because he did get some work back last year as a pass down back. But I'm more inclined to think that it'll be a 1-2 punch of Carter and James Robinson. And then the 5th most added running back is Chuba Hubbard, and he's rostered in 49% of sleeper leagues. Now, with the Christian McCaffrey news that he got traded, a lot of people were holding on to Chuba. A lot of people were holding on to D'Onta, or they picked him up off waivers this past weekend. But their roster percentage suggests that they're still out there. I don't mind throwing a dart on either one. Again, I prefer Foreman because of his track record doing it. He's shown that he's good at filling in, and he had himself a pretty big day in reprieve here. And I think, as Jersey J says, Hubbard will play. I agree he will play because that's what Steve Wilkes said he would have gone back in, but they were kind of taking care of the Buccaneers. But to me, I just think that Foreman provides the most stability out of the two of them. And I think if one of these guys, again, I maintain the same take as I did last week on this backfield. I'm not sure I love it. It's probably the worst offense in the league. But if they simplify things and they can run the ball pretty well, they get Atlanta in 2 out of the next 3 games. So if you're looking for a 3-week fill, like you need a win, you need to plug in a running back here because you're decimated, you could do a lot worse than Foreman or Chuba Hubbard here. All right, we'll move on to the dropping or not dropping here. We got Kenyon Drake being dropped by a ton of people, Jeff Wilson, of course, Mike Boone, and Isaiah Pacheco. Yeah, I think Ronald, this is a great point. If you can avoid it, that's best. But there are situations right now by apocalypse with Breece Hall and some of these injuries. You are definitely going to have to get him out there, as Jersey J is saying here. He's not able to avoid it. He's got to get somebody there. But again, I would kind of rank it the way we had it. I'm going with Gus Edwards and Michael Carter before the Carolina backs. I think those offenses give me a little bit more hope. All right, anyways, so of these guys I'm dropping, the only one that really stands out to me is Pacheco. I understand he's on a bye, and people they're like, oh, why didn't he take over? Why didn't he go crazy? I mean, he got the start, and their bye is coming up. We've seen several times before with rookies, when they go into the bye, post-bye, we call it the post-bye rookie bump, Pacheco could be in line for that big time. Now, I do think the most likely scenario is that this is going to be a nasty committee we don't want any part of, but I think stashing Pacheco should a McKinnon or a CEH injury happen. Plus, he's the lead back, and we've seen the touchdowns that can be scored from CEH this season if you're the lead back, and he's got more juice than CEH. So I wouldn't drop Pacheco, but I'm okay dropping these other guys. Jeff Wilson, I want to touch on. Elijah Mitchell is probably going to be back soon off the IR, which really makes it, Elijah Mitchell as CMC's backup, and you can kind of move on from Jeff Wilson, I'd imagine. They dropped Tevin Coleman today. I think he slides down to the number 3 back. Excuse me. All right, Marquise Goodwin is the first wide receiver, the most added wide receiver off of waivers. He's rostered in 2% of sleeper leagues. We obviously have the news with DK Metcalf, with what he is dealing with the patellar. We don't know. I mean, look, Pete Carroll is the optimist of all optimists, so he's saying that DK could still play. I don't think DK is going to play, and if they're smart, they're probably not going to play him. But if you look at, Goodwin, he's very athletic. He's getting another chance with this team here. He had 2 touchdowns last week. I don't know if you saw the one touchdown where he basically climbed the ladder and looked like He looked like DK out there, just a high point in that ball. It was a beautiful one. I think he's one of these flex guys that, what the heck flex that could win you a week. I do think that there is something, there's a bit of chasing points here, but I do think that he is worth a speculative add if you're hurting at wide receiver. Paris Campbell is one I was much more excited about on Monday before we got the news that Matt Ryan has a shoulder sprain and is benched and would have been benched with or without the injury. But Paris Campbell rostered in 12% of sleeper leagues. He's at a career high 10 receptions in week 7, over 92% snaps in each of the last 3 weeks. I think Ellinger could use him just based on Campbell's ADOT. You could see Ellinger kind of pepper him with targets as a safety blanket, but he doesn't provide the same juice as if Matt Ryan was a quarterback. Now, Ellinger could come in. There's a mystery box element to this. He could come in and absolutely surprise, but he's not somebody I'm not counting on Paris Campbell to really break through with Ellinger here. It kind of scares me off of the situation. Mecole Hardman here, he scored a couple end-around touchdowns. He's had some decent play here. So if you're like kind of well off and you want to stash an upside flex play, like if you're looking at Marquise Goodwin, but you're like an undefeated team, I'd actually go for Mecole because I think down the stretch he would have more value than Goodwin. But he is the third most added sleeper wide receiver. And then this is my guy right here, Wan'Dale Robinson, a.k.a. Wobdale Robinson, meaning blow your wob. No, don't blow it all. But 44% rostered for Wan'Dale's, 46%, excuse me. He led all Giants in targets with 8. He got 6 of them for 50 yards, and he's just looked like the only wide receiver for the Giants this year with any kind of juice. Plus, we saw the orbital fracture from Bellinger. That could mean more targets for Wan'Dale. He just looks good. They're scheming him up, and he could be kind of what we thought Kadarius Toney was going to be. That could be the situation here because Wan'Dale was actually drafted by this regime. He's a second-round pick, even though everybody laughed at the Giants for drafting him. I think he is the guy that we could actually look at to kind of emerge as the lead target getter. Now, it is a run-heavy offense. The upside is limited, but if we're looking at these other guys we're talking about here, I mean, he's got the season-long value. He's got of all these guys, he's got the ability to lead his team in targets. I think Wan'Dale is an excellent add, and hopefully you got ahead of it, but if not, he's still in less than 50% of leagues. He could be a PPR absolute magnet for you here. All right, as far as who we're dropping or not dropping, Romeo Doubs is the most dropped wide receiver right now. Rondale Moore, he had the most drops for the Packers wide receivers last week. Rondale Moore is also being dropped like a bad habit, and Alec Pierce as well. And I'm frankly fine with dropping all of these guys for the guys we mentioned, except for Romeo is a little bit interesting because he did lead the targets and Alan Lazard has a shoulder. But of course, Rodgers was on Pat McAfee today saying that, these guys that are playing so much but making mistakes, maybe they shouldn't be playing that much. So that's something interesting that, Rodgers said, Mr. Ego, Aaron Rodgers. For me, I'm not in a situation to really want to roster any of these guys. Rondale is kind of a downgrade with Hopkins back in the lineup, plus he and Zach Ertz kind of share the field. Alec Pierce without Matt Ryan, who was kind of peppering him, plus with the emergence of Paris Campbell, just kind of scares me off of that situation there. Love all these questions coming through. We're about halfway through the waiver wire section. We will get to all of these questions at the end of this section here, and we'll work through your roster construction and what you guys are trying to do tonight, and hopefully you guys get all the bids you need. For tight end, Greg Dulcich here is the number one added tight end in Sleeper. He's rostered in 17% of Sleeper leagues, and he's got easily the best hair in the NFL right now. He's just got the flowing locks, so he kind of looks like Old Greg. I drafted him in Dynasty. I nicknamed him on the Sleeper platform, Old Greg. So I'm excited about Dulcich, man. He had a really good game, 2 weeks back-to-back from injury. He's 2 weeks back from injury, 2 weeks in a row with 11-plus fantasy points in PPR. He's showing he can be productive with Wilson and Ripien, which makes him kind of more exciting to me, and he is a receiving threat. So I think he's a guy, if you lost Njoku, go pick up Dulcich. You're going to get ups and downs for sure, but I think Dulcich is this team is lacking explosive plays, and I think Dulcich, while everybody takes a look at Judy and Sutton on defense, Dulcich can slip through and be a guy that really capitalizes on that attention. Harrison Bryant is the second most added tight end on Sleeper right now. I got to be honest with you guys. I'm not here for it. I know that Bryant's like supposedly this really good prospect, and obviously, Njoku went down, and, we've got Brissett's track record of targeting the tight end. But, I would actually rather go with like a Juwan Johnson, who won't be on these top 3 added right now. I think for me, like if you look at Juwan Johnson, he was 5 of 5 for 32 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. He's also seen more of the true tight end role this season as opposed to Taysom Hill. And even before that big game of 20 points, he had over 6 points in 4 of the 6 games before that. So for me, Juwan Johnson over Harrison Bryant, I put him up here because that's what Sleeper has. And if you're thinking about that, I'd pivot to Juwan Johnson. And then Pat Freiermuth, who's rostered in 78%, but maybe he was dropped because he was coming off the concussion and people went elsewhere. Go pick him up because we've seen that Pickett, Mitch, it doesn't matter. They all kind of trust him, and he's soaking up targets in the middle of the field there. All right, if the tight ends were dropping here, it's at the top drops are Robert Tonyan, who had a really frustrating game last week. David Njoku with the injury, Daniel Bellinger with the injury. If you don't have an IR spot and you got to pivot off Njoku, I understand. I would be holding Njoku though, because as Jersey J says right here, Njoku is out 2 to 5 weeks, and Jersey J and all of us are hoping it's only 2, but it could be 5. And I understand if you have to pivot, times get desperate. We have to do what we've got to do in these situations. You don't want to get too crazy though with this. Oops. There we go. You don't get too crazy and drop a guy like Njoku, who's basically like a league winner here. Plus, he's the star of our helmet giveaway. So you want to make sure you got him on your team. All right, so moving on to quarterback here. Daniel Jones is the number 1 added quarterback on Sleeper right now, rostered in 41% of Sleeper leagues, had over 100 yards rushing last week. He went absolutely ham. And that was the first time in his career he had over 100 yards. But we've known he's had like the rushing upside. We've seen that before, but it looks like the ankle's fully behind him. He's had no less than 12 points in any game this year. That's in 4-point passing touchdown leagues, and he's thrown the ball at least 27 times in 5 of 7 games. And I think with the emergence of guys like Wandale and other guys that they can rely on, if we ever get Kadarius Toney back, Daniel Jones could be a guy that really pushes forward. But with that rushing upside, that's another thing, because they're lacking the weapons. He's having to run, and man, he's got the wheels, man. As much as we can, it's fun to clown on Danny Dimes, man. He gets it going. We should call him Danny Wheels. All right, moving on. We got Jameis Winston as the second most added Sleeper quarterback. I had a conversation with Jersey J in the Discord. That link to Discord, which is an absolutely free Discord, so it's great to get in there and have conversation. It's in the YouTube description if you're watching over on YouTube. But Jersey J asking about picking up Jameis Winston, and I think there is some upside to picking up Jameis, but right now Dennis Allen is a very conservative coach. We also see a situation with Tampa Bay where they're faltering, and this division could be up for grabs the way New Orleans sees it. And I don't know that Dennis Allen doesn't like Andy Dalton more than Jameis, because he doesn't turn the ball over as much. Now, he did on that Thursday night. He had the 3 picks in the Arizona game, but there is a situation where, he's using the Winston injury, which they said he could play through, to now kind of be like, oh, well, let's just get him healthy. So we'll see what the Saints end up doing, but that's where I think there are some situations that I don't necessarily love with Winston, because I do think that he could just not be the guy for multiple weeks. It is a good matchup against Vegas this week, but he's got to be named the starter. So I'd be going to Daniel Jones or even Justin Fields above him, who is rostered in 35% of Sleeper leagues and is, in my opinion, a fringe QB1, high-end QB2 right now. We've just seen the rushing really, really move forward. Monday night was an excellent show of how Justin Fields in this offense has slowly crept along and kind of put some good things together. And they're building it off of the run game with the 2 running backs that they have, plus our guy, Justin Fields, who is scrambling and running a whole lot more. So I think the upside there is with Fields in the Konami code. All right, so droppable QBs here. Jared Goff, Jimmy Garoppolo, Marcus Mariota. What I do want to say about Jimmy G, and I know his bye is, I think, next week, and this week he plays the Rams, and it's a fairly tough matchup. But with CMC, with all these weapons, Jimmy G's going to have decent games. And I think he's going to be a good bet to throw 2 touchdowns, any given week, because they just have all these weapons. He's just got to dump it off there to CMC, and then he can do all the work. And Jimmy G, fairly accurate. I think he's got a great playoff schedule too. Let me take a look here. I was looking at it earlier today, but if you're like sitting there and you've got some QB problems, but you're sitting with a really good record and you want somebody to stash for the playoffs. So in the playoffs, Seattle, Washington, and Vegas for Jimmy G in the fantasy playoffs. I think that's a cake schedule. So he could be a guy you're looking at to stream through the playoffs and, beyond there. So that does it there for the waiver wire run through some of the guys that are being added, some of the guys that are being dropped. If you've got specific FOB questions or ad drop questions, hit me up, put them in the chat now. I'm going to start at the top here, take a little drink of this Red Bull, and get going here. Jersey J says, Lost Hall and Njoku, put candles up, man. Pour one out. Swift still milking Workman's comp. DK might miss time. Bateman didn't practice. Yeah, Bateman wasn't scary because it's the same foot. My undefeated team died last week. I can get Gus, Hubbard, or Algier off waivers. I'm fourth in waivers. I'm hoping I get Gus, but doubtful. So I don't know what to do here. My whole team got hurt in week 7 besides Swift, who wakes up crying if he stubs his toe. Yeah, definitely there's a situation. I'm waiting on Swift, too, in a league. I think he gets back this week. He got the limiteds in. I wouldn't be surprised if we get limited full, or limited full. I think that's the way that DeAndre's if you look at the Lions, they need to start winning games. I guess they don't if they don't really want to, if they just want to get that quarterback next year. But I think for the Lions, they want to get Swift back. They want to get him on Ross St. Brown back and start really getting this offense going. Jameson Williams might come back. If Gus goes, do I target Hubbard, Eno, or Algier? Full PPR. Thanks for the question there, or the spelling out. So of these three, I think I would lean Algier. And that is only because Algier has been the Falcons just run the piss out of the ball no matter what. So even if they're down, they run. Even if they're up, they run. All of these guys, though, are very troublesome to me, right? If you look at Eno, Connor is back. They also worked Keontae Ingram in, so he's in a timeshare. Hubbard in a timeshare with Foreman. Algier in a timeshare, and probably going to be in a timeshare when it comes back with the fantasy glitch. I'm forgetting his name. Cordell Patterson, sorry. So for me, Algier, though, at least I know with this team, the Falcons, they have been committed to the run no matter what, even a negative game script. They were getting blown out by the Bengals, and they still decided to run the football. So I'm okay with Algier for now as that kind of fill-in running back there for you. Is Higbee good enough tight end until I get Njoku back? Yeah, I believe so. Tunyon and Ingram, a few others are. No, I mean, what we've seen out of the Rams, Jersey J, is the fact that with that offensive line, they're going to dump it down to Higbee. And anything they do in this offense, I think, is only going to reiterate that they are trying to get Higbee the ball in the underneath stuff. They don't have a huge pass-catching back. They wanted to get CMC, but it didn't happen. Allen Robinson, I don't know if he's dusted, but it's just not working. Now, after the bye, they could implement some more stuff here, but to me, I really think it's really about, I'd definitely be more into Higbee here. Is Campbell that good of a pickup due to the QB change? Yeah, that's my question. I would be a little bit concerned here about Campbell as we talked about through some of those other guys. Scott says, what is happening? Should I replace Njoku with Ron Jeremy? Well, if Ron Jeremy was available, maybe you would, but, Njoku definitely is him being out hurts a big time. Dulcich, a good streaming tight end this week. I think Dulcich is a good fill-in, and you can kind of keep rolling it out there with Dulcich depending on who you have. You got Kelsey on bye. I think he's a fine fill-in this week. So Fuente said, traded Andrews and Sutton for JT, Godwin, and Freiermuth. Yes or no? I like this deal. I mean, you hate to give up Andrews, but you got back Freiermuth, who's going to be decent. And JT and Godwin are extreme buy lows for me. So I'm really in that. And I think as Jersey J talking about the downplaying the Broncos, yeah, they score touchdowns at the lowest rate in the NFL. It is not good for our Broncos here. Ron calling out Jags going to pick up Coleman. That would be interesting there. I mean, I don't know if it's too interesting. ETN is really to the moon right now. Val's the GOAT. Thanks for watching. Should I drop MVS for Paris Campbell? I would actually do this deal. I do this deal. I would actually do this as a waiver claim. And the reason I would is because we talked a little bit about the QB change, but I think if it's full PPR, Campbell could soak up a bunch of underneath targets with this rookie or young quarterback QB change. And I think it could be a safety blanket. MVS is just too spotty right now. And we're seeing McCole Hardman and Juju and Kelsey, those guys hit. MVS really has not hit. And I don't know that he's going to. I mean, I watched him as a Packers fan. He's just kind of a whatever wide receiver. And I think those other guys are kind of outplaying him right now. Franz, appreciate you, man. We're grinding over here. Which group? Nemo Ladies, Whisper Nation Strong. What's going on? Which group has a better chance to win 100 humans versus one gorilla or 10 humans versus one kangaroo? 100 humans versus the gorilla. That's easy. 10 humans versus kangaroos, man. They look jacked sometimes in Australia. I could just see them kicking fools out of the way here. Great question, Nemo. Thank you. Herbert, Kyler, or Lamar rest of season? Wow, this is tough. I would go Lamar because I've seen Lamar get there on limited weapons, and that's what he's dealing with this year. Now, he's had a couple bad games, but Kyler is kind of in this weird funk. I thought he got home last week with Hopkins, but still it's not a lot of stuff to be desired in that offense, especially that offensive line. And Herbert, man, we all wanted this to happen for Herbert, but Keenan Allen can't get the hamstring behind him. Mike Williams now rolled his ankle. I really think that I would be leaning more Lamar out of the three of these. Thank you, Jersey J. Appreciate you watching, brother. Okay. Nemo Lady's asking Van, Jefferson, or Duvernay rest of season, and Irv Smith or Gucci D. Dulcich this week in PPR. I'm rolling Dulcich out continuously till he kind of lets me down, and it's going to happen. He's a rookie tight end. He's not going to hit every week, but I do like the usage I've been seeing here, and he seems to be a very consistent part of the offense. Remember, this is the regime. They didn't draft Alberto. They drafted Dulcich with a third-round pick, and they've been waiting for him to get back. Your first part of the question is Van Jefferson or Devin Duvernay rest of season. Well, with a Bateman injury again, I might go Duvernay. We've seen him kind of be this guy they scheme up, and he's got that elite speed down the field. He's been a big weapon for them, so I'd go Duvernay. Better start touting Ingram, 23 targets over the last 3 games. Yeah, the targets have been there. It hasn't exactly produced on the field yet, but I think he's a fine streamable tight end as well. I think that should regress and that should even out. Scott knows his stuff. He plays in a million leagues. Did anyone have Burrow and Chase in the same league? They freaking killed it. Oh, man, I did not have that. But right now, Burrow is a top 5 quarterback the rest of season, and Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. And, I mean, that offense, Joe Mixon, I think, is a prime example of these guys are just going to pop off. And their games down the stretch here are going to be a lot of shootout potential games. So it's a lot of fun to see what the Bengals could do. Pizza Belly says, hey, dudes, happy Tuesday. What's up, Pizza Belly? Just gave me my first loss in the Listener League. Come back to rub it in my face. No, I'm just kidding. I appreciate you. Love you, Pizza Belly. Jersey J says, my buddy did in a big money league. He got 200 points. Jesus, man. Yeah. Last 3 weeks, I've signed Walker, Gus, and Kyron, looking like a bunch of studs off the wire. Well, Kyron we'll have to see. Yeah, Walker for sure. Walker is going to be a league winner. And we called it when we were on the waiver show. We said this is a guy that can be the league winner. Blow all your wob if you could. Nemo Ladies, what a great pickup over the last couple of weeks. And Gus, too. I think that's excellent. As Jersey J says, sexy. Bap Jap, I'm stuck with Amy's sister's boyfriend who is offering garbage deals every other day. Today's offer, CeeDee Lamb for Alan Lazard. I do need to improve my wide receiver core, but not sure that's the right deal. I mean, if you're getting CD, absolutely you smash it, but you're not giving up CeeDee Lamb right now. Your sister's okay. You're stuck with your sister's boyfriend. Well, if you're going to get CeeDee Lamb, then you take advantage of him being your sister's boyfriend, and you strong arm him. But if you're the one giving up CeeDee Lamb, absolutely smash no as soon as you can. But I think we worked through all the questions, guys. If you have more questions, you have more stuff, and we didn't get to anything today that you want to discuss, remember, the link for our Discord is in the description below if you're watching on YouTube, and you can hit us up on Twitter at TF Whispers, at Big Travie TFW, and of course, Instagram, all the other stuff as well. Chaka coming in here late. Should I trade away Walker and Gabe Davis for Justin Jefferson? Whew. Man, no. As much as I love Justin Jefferson, Kenneth Walker is a league winner. I wouldn't be getting rid of him for anything. And you have Gabe Davis. So you already have upside to kind of swing it. You get floor and ceiling with Walker, and then you get ceiling every other week or maybe multiple weeks in a row with Davis. He's going to have his bust weeks, but he's definitely going to have league winning or week winning type weeks. So I wouldn't do that deal. I have CeeDee Lamb. I offered Jamal Williams for Lazard, but he just sent me one of these middle finger emojis. Yeah, I don't blame him there, but don't be giving up CeeDee. I think the boom games are coming just based on what he's been able to do. Speaking of bad offers, guy sent me Chase, Boone, and Taysom for Amari Cooper, Walker, and Hawk. I mean, is he giving you Chase? Because then you're good, but that's probably not, since you said it was a bad offer. Stephen Joe, what up? Need help? Should I trade Chase and Gordon to receive Lockett, Lenny, and White? Jamar Chase? No, don't do this deal. Nope. Jamar Chase, again, we just talked about it. Jamar Chase is not stopping this. This is not like a sell high moment. This is what we expected out of Jamar Chase, and now it's coming to fruition. This is what they did at the end of last year. They're doing it again this year. We finally got Zach Taylor. Hey, let's run shotgun. Let's throw a lot. Let's lean on our weapons, and they're doing it. I would not be getting rid of Chase. Drop Guskin, got the old alert. He was active. I was so pissed. Did it in the listener league. I was absolutely shocked when you did this. I could not believe this happened, Jay. And you clapped back real quick saying because you felt like it. But I knew, I don't think you saw it in time before. I'm sorry, brother. That one's a tough one. Maybe you'll get him back here. We'll see who has the number one waiver there. I would get Chase. You think he's worth Amari, Walker, and TJ Hawkinson. I don't know if he's – can you get anything back with Chase? If you can get any kind of running back that's worth it back, I'd be more interested. If it's full point PPR, I'd be more interested. That is a realm of possibility that Walker doesn't hit the absolute ceiling we need him to because he's not involved in the passing game work. So in PPR, I could see that. Can you get anything back on the running back? And then I would be, if you can get like a ho-hum RB2, can you get Devin Singletary back? I don't know if he even has him, but somebody around that kind of frame to get back. And then I would be like, yeah, I would do this deal. I knew you were mad, Jay. It's all good. Gus Bus got the 6-1, but lost Breece Hall. Oh, pour one out for you, brother. Sorry about that. It's all good, Jay. I know you love me, brother. He has no RBs. Breece just went down in his PPR. Yeah, I'm good hanging tight with what you got. You don't need to go sell the farm off. Look, we just saw Breece go down. Anything can happen the next week. You want to hang on to the running backs. That's where it's scarce. As tempting as that is, I would temper your want to go trade him away. Well, that does it for tonight's waiver show. I want to thank you all for being in here. Gus Bus, Ron, Scott, Jersey J, Nemo Ladies, Stephen Joe, Bap Jap, Pizza Belly. I know him for Don and Antonio. It's just been great to rock with you guys as we do every single Tuesday and talk about the waiver wires. Let us know, join the Discord. Let us know who you got on waivers, of course. And we will be back with you on Thursday to watch the Thursday night. We might get a good one here. We've got the Ravens versus the Bucks, which is exciting. And we'll see if it ends up being a good game. But we will be here doing the watch party, doing the bet slips, getting that thing done. For the rest of my boys, Donnie Tubbs, Austin Sear, Johnny Game Time Hicks, I'm Big Travie. We're the Fantasy Whisperers. We'll see you on Thursday. Peace.
Right here.
Look at you go. You made it to the end of another one of our videos. Hey, if you still have some questions, I totally understand. Or you just want to join an awesome fantasy football community, head on over to our Discord chat. Link is in the description below. And if you're